Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas, and it was as good as mine, I hope. A couple days of R&R is always good. Back at it. We came back the night of the 26th, had two grueling and hard practices on the 27th, and then have done individual workouts and practice then since that point. Thought we did some really positive things in the in our last game against Missouri. The first half we were as dialed in as I've seen this group. Defensively, we were really good. We did some good things. We were flying around. I think the one thing that was very pleasing was we added a couple of wrinkles in terms of schematics, and we handled that, and that's a big step for this group. And I thought Mark Allstork's on-ball defense was unbelievable. We did a great job of keeping the ball out of the post areas, and for the most part, we limited some of those touches. And but still got to try to get a little better on the offensive end. We missed 12 layups, and obviously we missed some free throws that would have made it a little less interesting down the stretch. But all in all, to find a way to win that and to play as well as we played in the first half, it was a tremendous amount of growth, and that's exciting. We've got a great Grand Canyon team coming in here. I think they're one of the 3 or 4 best teams that we have played to this point. They've got tremendous veteran experience. I think 2 fifth-year guards, Braun and Benson. Benson was a key factor on Oregon's Final Four run last year. They've got great size there. They've got a junior at the power forward spot in the Vernon kid, Keontae, that's a hard matchup. He's 6'6", he's motored up. They run a lot of actions, but this is a very, very good basketball team that's coming in here. They're going to be a NCAA tournament caliber team, and we're going to have to play awfully well.
Brad, in the early stretch of the season where you seemed like you were doing a game prep every other day, now that you've had a week, then a game, then another week, then another game, how's that been for the team, and how have you used that to your advantage?
An unbelievable blessing and much needed. There's no substitute for practice. And just to focus in and dial up certain situations in a game, or certain fundamental things that maybe you don't have time to, you feel like as a coach sometimes that there's not enough hours in the day to work on everything. And now we've been able to, the other day we spent 2 hours offensively, just offense. We didn't do anything defensively. Then we came back in the afternoon, we went 2 hours defensively and focused just on getting back to some of the fundamental things and cleaning up things we weren't doing well, and so it becomes fresh on the mind. And I thought it really helped us prior to the bragging rights game. I think it's helping us now as we get ready for Grand Canyon and games moving forward. So we continue to work really hard. We continue to practice. I take a lot of pride in our teams continuing to get better. I think Christmas break is. We tell our players and our athletes it's the time to act like a professional when there's no academic load, and you can be in the gym as much as you want to be in the gym and watching film and doing those things. And these guys have been pretty good about that, and I feel like we can continue to improve.
For Trent to kind of shoulder, a lot there down the stretch against Missouri. I think maybe he was building to that, but just maybe the last 3 or 4 games, have you seen a different side of him where maybe he's taken that on as a challenge, or accepted that he's maybe going to be that guy?
Well, I think the mental part of this for Trent has been probably the most difficult transition. And it's, playing the point guard role is not easy. And playing it for me is really not that easy. And him understanding situations, he was a few missed layups away from really having an incredible night. And yet, we made one little tweak in his free throws, and he goes 10 for 11. And things are mental with Trent in terms of now he's got experience. Now he's continuing to grow, and confidence is a wonderful thing, and he's playing with a lot of it. And so I think for him to be put in that situation, I think our guys look to him. They know he can make plays. I think we showed him on film. There were some plays that he didn't make, and maybe some other options that he had that may have been better than the ones he made. But that's growth, and that's exciting because he does have the ability to go make a lot of plays.
Seems like opposing defenses are seeming to really lock down Jordan these last couple games. What needs to happen to get him going again?
Well, I think the one thing that is there's a tremendous amount of positive when teams want to lock him down, because that creates space, and space is a wonderful thing for offensive basketball. And when you can space the floor with shooters, and it makes everybody's job a little better. So in essence, you pick your poison. You got Trent on the ball, you've got Mark Smith shooting the cover off of it. Now you get AJ and Mark Smith spaced, and Finke, and now you got problems with LaRon. You double LaRon, and who are you going to double off of? And so those things become nice problems. I'm not worried one lick because he just made about 17 in a row yesterday in practice. Do we have to maybe run a few more things to get him shots? We'll see. I'm not concerned about that. I think the one thing that he did early that we've maybe got to get a little better at, and that was getting out in transition, running. He's tremendous, running with a full head of steam, playing under control, getting his feet under him, and making that shot. And we've got to look to do that a little more.
Maybe back to Trent. I mean, you recruited him when you were at SFA, and then again, when you got this job to lock him in. Just the timetable of this. Did you expect 14 games in that you'd maybe kind of hand the ball to him in those clutch situations?
Well, I thought all along he was going to be capable of having some big games this year. I mean, he's just a gifted scorer. The ball. Every time the ball leaves his hand, there's a pretty good feeling as a coach that thing's got a good chance to go in. So, I've also been around long enough to know that freshmen, I don't care who they are going to struggle at some point. And it's you look back in the history of basketball, and every freshman has a spot or two. And he got off to, I think, 4 for 30, maybe from 3, somewhere close to that. Again, experience is invaluable. To this point, to say that surprises me, it doesn't with him. I've said he's got a lot of confidence. He's got a lot of swagger. He had to live through the tough moments. Now he's starting to see some things. Now there'll be some new challenges thrown at him that he's going to have to live through, but he'll do just fine because he's a gifted offensive player.
Coach, you touched on the free throws, prevented you guys from putting the game away earlier. But now you got the win, and as a coach, what do you take away from that game? What does your team take away from being able to hold on to that win, which has been a struggle earlier this year? I'm sure you use it as a teaching moment this week.
Well, that's a huge mental component. When you've had five games prior where the last minute you've found a way to not get it done, and then stumble through it again. And I mean, we can look at missed dunks, no matter what point of the game they are. LaRon missed a little layup that was a perfect alley-oop, then stepped up and missed a one-on-one, and yet you start looking, and Michael hits a big shot off of an inbounds play, and we ran a little pick and pop for LaRon, and Trent made a great pass, and LaRon hits a 3. You know, those things are big plays. And yet, now we got to go to the free throw line. And for the most part, Trent did. But we also had some other guys that got to make free throws. And, you know, I'm not going to accept missed free throws late in the game. That's just, you know, it's if you can make them in the first half, you should make them in the second half. And again, that's experience and that's comfort. But to get through those moments, there's a certain level of confidence that that I know we've gained. Wasn't perfect, but it's in the column that it needs to be in, and we're not going to give it back. So we've talked about those moments. We've showed them those moments, and a couple defensive plays we just butchered late. You know, Trent and Tijon just butchered a guard-to-guard dribble handoff, and the very next play, then Michael shows flat and Cassius hits a three, and you know those are plays that are just as important on the defensive end as what we do on the offensive end. So, but we found a way to win it, and now we can continue to learn and teach and not make those mistakes again.
Talking about DeMonte now, what does it show you about him that he's been able to bounce back so well from a potential career-ending injury with his ACL last year?
I don't know if it was career-ending, but it was obvious. Here's what's remarkable to me the most about DeMonte's deal. He didn't play. When you're that young and you don't play in high school, you don't play your senior year, and so he's off, I don't know, 18 months, whatever it is. He's off a long time. And for young people to lose that experience and lose that feel and lose that game energy and the vibe you get, that's pretty remarkable for him to come in and do what he's done. And I don't know if his numbers indicate how important he is to us, but of all the guys, I've probably been as impressed with him just because I know what it was like taking what it feels like to take that much time off. It's crazy for a young guy to step in and be that successful, make a huge jump in what he's facing every night in terms of talent, and still be able to get it done. And he's still, you know, he's probably getting now as close to 100% as he's been at any point. And he had a couple dunks yesterday on drives that he hasn't done. He wasn't doing that in November, so he's getting closer to being healthy.
Kipper's played fewer minutes the last couple games than he did the rest of the season. Is he still bothered by that foot, or is there something else going on?
Other guys are playing better. I mean, you got to earn those minutes. And Kipper's a guy that's got to continue to grow. He's got to continue to make less mistakes. He's got a tremendous amount to offer, but you know, LeBron's been arguably as good as any front court player in the league, and you know, Michael's again a guy that I have a lot of confidence in because he can space and he's making shots when he's a threat. And you know, conversation I had with Tom Crean, I mean, he was the guy they schemed against, you know, not to give him looks. And so there's another Big Ten coach that fears what he's got. So you feel comfortable with some of that. And then I was so thoroughly impressed with Kipper and LeBron and Michael, what they did defensively, because one of our big goals against Missouri was no post catches. And those guys did a great job in doing that. So, yeah, Kipper, as he continues to grow, he's had a great week of practice, so we'll see how that affects his minutes. But he's got two guys playing awfully well in front of him.
Brad, in the New Mexico State game, looking back, you said your first half was probably one of your worst halves of the season. Now, conversely, the half against Missouri was probably your best. What was the underlying difference in between those two games?
Jeez. When I get that answer, we'll have something. That's probably been one of the more frustrating things I've had to try to figure out with this group. You know, it's not a light switch, and we if there's one thing, I'm gonna say practice. We actually got in the gym and could practice and grind on them, and when they made mistakes, throw them on the treadmill and run them and demand that they get things right, and not so much where it's and I don't want to say our effort slipped, but our mental focus wasn't there, and that comes from, again, that's practice. I want our practices to be harder than games, and sometimes when you got one-day preps, that gets a little challenging at times. So I think a week of practice helps us a bunch. Thank you.